Back again for another video. I know I've been going a long time, but college is called, university, these classes, I'm telling you, they're heavy. All right. They're heavy. It requires me to do a lot of my time, and I don't get much time to actually talk to my higher self in the regards of dealing with philosophy. It's mostly dealing with schoolwork, right? So that's where most of my energy has been going in regards to my rhetoric building and my, I guess you can say, ability to explain something. And of course, to my submissive, right? They get lessons all the time, about the philosophy that I have. And I often think after having the conversation, like, wow, I should have recorded that. But anyways, here I am. So today's topic will be about why she likes what she likes. And this is about the pedestrian BW, the average BW, the non-exceptional BW, the wild BW, as I call them. Not the high levels, of course. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the average again. But this woman, she is one to find herself liking many things. Now, the men who have come up out of this genre of things that she likes understand that they shouldn't be these things because they are very detrimental to their own lives. And they understand that these things are actually regressive. They're counterproductive to where they want to go and what they want to accomplish in life. But on the flip side of things, we don't necessarily critique or seek deeper into why that is that they like these things. They like these types of men. That's what I'm specifically getting to here. The type of men that the average pedestrian wild BW likes. And we don't actually think about it, why they like this. But I'm here to, of course, tell you, well, at least voice my opinion in regards to these things. Now, we know that in our community, Black community, you want to call it that, it's been a very matriarchal system. And one thing that I've always said about anyone, especially in this context, that if a person has a slave, they would not tell them that being a slave was bad. They would tell them that being a slave was the best thing in the world and that they're proud of them for doing it. They would encourage them to continue being slaves. Even while the person who is actually saying this understands that being a slave is the lowest level of existence in regards to humanity. Actually, I would say the slave owner is probably lower than that. This is no shot towards, anyone in the past who has been a slave. But I'm talking in the context of how it's seen socially, not actual. It doesn't inherently dictate your value as a human being, what you end up as outside of your own willpower, right? I'm talking about how it's seen socially, that you're at the bottom if you're a slave. So a slave owner would not tell the slaves anything differently than praising them for being slaves. This is no different than what we see in our community. Now, like I've said, for a long time, this community has been very matriarchal, and the women have been praising the men for being under a matriarchy, right? They've been saying, oh yes, this is where all this stuff stems from, right? All this rhetoric about, this is where the Derek Jenks and, all the rest of the guys who fall in that category come from. They're being praised and pedestalized for being essentially a slave to Black women, right? The thing of it is that we don't actually critique why that is. I gave partial of it, but they do this in other ways. It's not just the Derek Jenks, type of dudes that these women praise. for being lower than them, because that's essentially what it is. They praise anything that keeps them under the matriarchy, that keeps them under the hierarchy of women, right? We need to evaluate this. Now, I don't have anything against anybody getting their hustle on at all. I hustle, but I hustle legally. I don't have anything against anyone doing what they have to do. But let's really look at it in regards to what they're attracted to. There's another thing about sexuality as well that women praise because it keeps the black man under their boot. When they're batting for the same team, as I want to phrase it, the black women praise that. The average BW praises that. Why? Because it keeps you beneath her. Now, that's not to take any shot at anyone who has a sexual orientation that is a preference for the same sex. This is more so spelling the hierarchy within the matriarchy. That's all I'm saying here. And if you believe yourself to be higher than the average BW, so be it. But I'm looking at the way the BW presents this to the community, and the reason why she says and does and chooses the men that she does. The matriarchy, the gynocracy rather, is not built to raise strong men. We all know this. So therefore, it's going to support an ideological view that constantly makes men weak. All the things that they like is a weaker version of what men are supposed to be. All of them. Not just one, not just some, not just two, all of them. From the thugs, from the people in vice, from the people who talk about women the way they do, from everything, from them calling you homosexual. Often they want you to be that. It's not, we've been looking at that as a disparaging term in order to shame a man into a different rhetoric that supports what she's saying. No. There's actually another layer to it. Remember I said that there's a real reason, there's a reason, and then there's a real reason. Well, there's a real reason. There's a reason, the real reason, and the truth. There's a trinity there. All right. The truth of it is that she wants you to be that. She wants you to be homosexual so that she can lord over you in the gynocracy. That's the reason why she constantly calls you that. Notice that anytime these words are spoken to any man in regards to the critique of a BW, she constantly wants to attack your homosexuality because it does several things. It tries to weaken your rhetoric, right? Because there are going to be other BWs that flock to that and say, oh yeah, this and that, whatever the case. And then on top of that, she's trying to level the playing field to get you in an emotional space when you're saying something rational. And the third reason which is the truth, because I'm listing the reason, the real reason, and the truth. The real reason is because she wants you to be that. They love it when you're that. That's the reason why they support, that's the reason why in Black Lives Matter group, that is part of the subsection of what they protect. Notice that they don't protect black men anywhere in that subsection. I'm sure you guys have read it, went down to the Black Lives Matter website and read their mission statement. It doesn't include black men anywhere. It includes everything that lords over you, but not you at all. You ever notice that? Nonetheless, they want you to sell drugs. The reason why they want you to sell drugs is because they know that eventually you're going to get caught and you're going to be put in a position where you're weaker than them. That's what ultimately happens to most drug dealers. No one can say what the success rate of selling drugs is for up until you're rich, but I'm sure it's probably less than 2%. I wouldn't say that majority of drug dealers are rich. Majority of drug dealers are in jail. But they love it. They love to see you do it. They love to see you walk around with illegal guns. They love to see you walk around and get into these fights and the fights over them. They love to see it because this is what puts you at a lower stance of a man than what you're supposed to be, and they get to lord over you at the end of it. They love to see it. No different than the slave master loves when the other slaves tell them that, no, we don't need to revolt. No, we need to do what master says. No, let's be good slaves. The Derek Jenks of the world. Once again, all these things that I'm mentioning should be relevant in your mind. The reason why they love these things, once again, is because it makes you less of a man. And they know that if you're less of a man, there's less chance for you to topple the gynocracy. They don't want you to be successful. They don't want you to thrive. They don't want you to be anything that's greater than them. And that's unfortunate because a lot of them have sons and will have sons. And they train them up just to be another pawn of the gynocracy. They train them up to make sure that they listen to all the good rap music that tells them how to destroy their own community, to make sure that they see the way that they treat the men, their father, in their family, and in their house, to make sure that you understand that this is the role that you should take on. Because ultimately, they know that when you become older, you'll serve as a good blood meal, right? Or they're paying it forward to another BW who wants to take the baton of lording over black men. They love this. I don't know why a lot of men can't see this as blatantly clear, that the reason why they select these things is because it makes you weak. That's the reason why our culture is fixated on all these things that have no value, that ultimately takes away the power within the community and within the men, most importantly. But anyways, I didn't want to make this too long. It's just a thought that I wanted to get out. It was a video that's been on my mind and I heard it a few times, and I wanted to talk my piece on that because I just watched a video by BGS, and he mentioned in that, and I literally wrote this note down like a week ago. Actually, I probably posted to show you that I was actually actually, no, I probably won't. My writing is horrible because I'm writing on my notes on my phone, right? But I actually made this thought probably about 2 weeks ago. And then, like I said, BGS made that video about, for BWs to lead, shut up, or get out the way. Because that's the truth of it. If you're doing so much better than us, then why do you need to chastise anyone else who you're doing better than? Why do you need to constantly make sure that you're there so that you can say your piece against someone who you believe is lesser than you, to argue them down? Why? If I were in a position, like, I don't argue with children, for instance, I don't necessarily argue with women either. I don't really have those arguments. I'll have debates, but it's just to sharpen my rhetoric most times. I don't even see them as worthy opponents in the arena of my intelligence, in the arena of my wisdom and knowledge. Most of them. There are some that, of course, know what I'm talking about, but for the most part, it's just a sparring match and I'm punching a dummy. That's what it's like for me. But for the women out there who believe that they are greater than the men, especially the BW, the average BW, why do you feel the need to argue someone who you believe you're greater than if there were no threat to them? If they were no threat to you, why? That's what I would like to know. Because then that answer is the truth again. The truth is that you actually do fear us. The truth is that you know that eventually this show that you're putting on is going to end. The curtains are going to close on this. So you're trying to get the most longevity out of it by extending and stalling and misdirecting and doing whatever you can in order to shut the rhetoric down. Because the further it spreads, the more they become awake. And you can't have that, because we don't need a slave revolt, right? But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on the good old Patreon. I didn't upload anything, but this summer I'm going to produce more and more content. I know I keep promising you guys this content. Believe me, it's been on my mind. Like I said, I write down most everything that I think of, and they're all video worthy. Believe me, I have a lot of good topics. So we'll get back on schedule. We'll get back on schedule. And then of course in the fall I'm going back to college. So, but at least you'll get a few months in there where I'm dropping consistent content. I appreciate everyone who stuck with me this long. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the consideration. I appreciate my few Patreon people who support me in the way that they see fit. I appreciate everybody. There's not a single person that I don't appreciate on my channel. So anyways, with that said, this has been the Wolf and Beta Close. May you have a good day. And of course, you know it. Peace be with you.